Do you have what it takes to be a man? Find out on this week's episode of Parent Like a Pro. Hi, I'm Anna Campbell with Theros Parenting. I'm the development director. We are a parent education center since 1987. And I am here today with my friend and coworker, parent educator, TJ Johnson. So TJ teaches our fatherhood class. So TJ, why a fatherhood class? Why is that so needed?
First off, let me say, I like being introduced as a friend first.
Yeah.
That makes me feel extra
well,
special.
you are my friend.
I'm taking that.
That's right.
We've gone to church together.
We have.
So please, ask me that question again. I want to answer it the right way. I'm sorry.
Okay. So tell me, why is a fatherhood class needed?
A fatherhood class is needed because there is no blueprint to any of this that we're doing, right? Like we have children. Sometimes we're prepared, and, we actually plan to have children with our significant other. And then other times, there are some surprises. Doesn't mean that you regret the surprise. It's just a surprise, right?
Right.
So because we're not always prepared for the things that we're going into, it's never a bad idea to try and gain some perspective, gain some information that can help you be your best self. I mean, ultimately, that child didn't ask to be here because for whatever circumstance that they were born. So they deserve the best. They just deserve the best because they're here, right? They're kids. We want them to have nice childhoods and grow up into effective adults. And so, yes, if you as a parent can gain some knowledge, then you're doing yourself and your child a service.
I totally agree. And I've also noticed that society now has kind of done a switch. So before, it was always the female in the relationship's role to be the caretaker. Yeah. But now, dads are becoming more involved and taking kids to practices and being the one that does bedtime and reading books and cooking. And there's just not a lot out there for them to learn.
And there really isn't, which obviously, we did a search and we looked and, there's really nothing offered in North Carolina like that.
Right.
But, I mean, if you're looking at that paradigm shift, it's like once upon a time, the man was perceived as, he's the head of the household. He's going to go out. He's going to work. He's working long hours. So mom is home with the kids. So she's able to be that nurturer, and it's just an easy transition in. Whereas now you have more and more women that are going out, more and more mothers that are going out. They're in the work world, and now, you're having to be creative with how you parent. So if mom's working in the afternoons after the kids get out of school, dad needs to be prepared to help with homework, to make sure dinner's taken care of. And, Dad, I'm sorry, but you can't always go to Wendy's. I'm a big fan of their square burgers.
That's right.
But, you need to be able to cook a nutritious meal. You need to know the diet restrictions of your children. Know what your child's favorite food is, and again, I didn't know what gluten was coming up.
Right.
Now they say gluten's in everything. So there are some children who are sensitive to gluten. Well, Dad, you can't just go and throw mayonnaise on everything. Mayonnaise, because
TJ is not a fan of mayonnaise.
Not at all. Not at all. That's why I said it. Keep that mayonnaise away from me. But no, Dad just can't go and throw that in a meal because he likes it if his children aren't, going to be able to process that food the same. You don't want to make your kids sick. So dads need to be more in the know now than they were before because, again, before they were just outside. They're just working. They're a protector. Now they're being asked to be more.
Right.
So if you're being asked to be more, why would you not want to equip yourself with all the skills necessary?
You're so right, and I'm going to read some statistics to you, which probably won't shock you, but they will probably shock some of our listeners. Okay, so children with involved fathers have a strong foundation for child well-being. So we probably knew that. This is from the National Fatherhood Initiative, which is where we get our 24/7 dad curriculum from for the class that TJ teaches. So they are at lower risk for a host of poor childhood outcomes. So that's going to include infant mortality, which is shocking, low birth weight, emotional and behavioral problems, neglect and abuse, injury, obesity, poor school performance, teen pregnancy, incarceration as juveniles, alcohol and substance abuse, criminal activity, and suicide. So I know that probably doesn't shock you, TJ, because you know this curriculum and you know what it's like to be a dad in 2024. But it's critical. The father role is so critical. And something that we've been noticing, and I know that you notice, and I think it's the very first section of the curriculum is being in tune with your emotions.
Yes. So in the very first session, we're talking about that family foundation, right? Because we all are raised a certain way, and what sometimes I feel like we fail to realize is that a lot of what we do as a parent is based on what we received as a child.
That's true.
So we have to get to the bottom of how you were brought up, so before we can even get into, all these other things. And again, with regards to the curriculum, we're talking what it means to be a man. We're talking emotions, communication, men's health, discipline. It's a wide variety of topics, but got to start somewhere. We got to start somewhere. What did it mean to be a man when you were a child? And then what does it mean to be a man now? And now we're going to say, now that we've established those two, what does it mean to be a man to you? Because now you've formulated this belief system of what it means to be a man based on what you saw as a child. And here's the thing, talking about what you said with regards to the man not being in the home, if you did not have a strong male role model in the home, where did you get that concept of manhood? Did you get it from a Boy Scout leader, somebody at school, somebody at church? Did you get it from somebody in the neighborhood? Did you get it from television? I was one of those people fortunate to, I say fortunate, it's just how it happened. I got put in front of the television set. So I was raised on Cliff Huxtable, and say what you will about him personally, just the character of Cliff Huxtable, showing what it meant to be a dad and how to talk to your children and how you could be successful and have a successful spouse and still make it all work. I mean, it was amazing television for me coming up, and that played a lot into what would become my philosophy, because even my philosophy as a parent changed. My twins will be 12 this year, and the way that I was at the beginning of their lives versus how I was towards the end it's night and day. Right. Night and day. So there's so many philosophies, and I share those in the class as my own personal stuff, not because I want to say that everything that I've done is right, because it's not, but if I can give you examples, real-time examples from situations that I had, you can take bits and pieces from it, and try and make your situation a little bit better.
So if someone were to walk away and they're thinking, in touch with my emotions, I've never been prepared to feel that way. I've always wanted to be the head of the household. I've always been taught to be strong, completely stoic, not show my emotions. But with children, it's so different because their emotions are so raw and so real. So if someone asked you, how do I show my emotions with my children in a healthy way? What is something you would tell them? First off, I'm going to say,
if you're raised in the mindset to think that you're not supposed to share your emotions, or you don't want to come off as soft or anything like that to your significant other or your children, you have to understand what you're actually saying. I don't want to show emotions. Okay, so you are the role model for your children.
Right.
So if when something happens and you are upset, say you drive home and you see that you got a flat tire, you're upset. While you're home, one of the kids drops a glass and it breaks, you get upset. If the first thing that you do is shut down and walk out of the room, you're not talking to anybody. Because you're saying, I don't want to yell at anybody, so I'm just going to leave the room. What you're showing your children is, when you're angry, shut it down. That's not what you want to show the children. And it's possible to deal with your emotions without, vomiting everything to your child, because children can only process so much. So for you to say, Tommy, Billy, hey, kids, Daddy's dealing with something right now. I'm just going to go and process that, and then I'm going to come back and we're going to talk about it.
Yeah.
Easy. It's still you getting your alone time to deal with what you have to deal with, but it also lets your children know, okay, Dad's going to talk to me about what's going on. It's not you going in a room, it's pitch black dark and you're by yourself. Or it's not you going in the living room, sitting in your favorite chair, turning on SportsCenter and not talking to anybody while everybody else is in the other room laughing and carrying on. You are a part of your family. And again, you're allowed to have emotions. You need to have emotions. We have emotions.
Right.
If you don't check your emotions, they're going to change your mood, right? So if you think about it in terms of weather, today it's raining outside and tomorrow it could be beautiful, but let's say it's raining again tomorrow. So now we've got a collection of days of rain. So it's like this climate, it's a rainy climate. It could have just been a rainy day, but now we're looking at a series of rainy days. So it's like when it comes to emotions, I get this emotion of anger because someone put mayonnaise on my sandwich.
There's the mayonnaise again.
So instead of speaking up and saying something, man, like, y'all know I don't like that mayonnaise, get that stuff out of here. I didn't say that. I just took my bag lunch and I stormed off, and the kids saw me storm off. So now the kids are going to school in a weird mood because Daddy's usually smiling and now he's storming off. All of it was because mayonnaise. Could have easily been handled. But now whenever I come home, my significant other is in her feelings because she saw the way I left. My kids had a weird day at school because they saw the way I left. And now when I come home, I'm coming home into a tense environment because I left in a tense environment.
Right.
Not to mention whatever happened at work. And we say you leave work at work and leave home at home to keep that divide, but it is almost impossible sometimes to leave work at work because some stuff just happens that blows your mind. So if you come home with the work stuff and you left the house in a tense environment, it's a time bomb. It's a time bomb. And all of that could have been diffused if we were upfront about what's going on with us and what we're feeling. And like I said, I'm not saying that we have to make a spectacle about it. You don't have to throw your arms about like the little inflatables at the car dealerships. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying just being able to know what you're feeling and confront that in the moment. Because if I ask you, which is something I do in the class, what do you do when you're angry? And there's so many different types of angry.
Right.
So self-awareness, and you and I talked about this before the show, it's like self-awareness is everything. You need to know how you respond to things. Is it healthy? And if you recognize it's not, then let's get to the bottom of it.
It is a domino effect, but also on the flip side of that, I feel like as a female, a lot of times I see males not in touch with their softer emotions. So showing affection to your child, being able to cry with them or for them, cuddling and giving them hugs, telling them that you're proud of them. Why is that so difficult?
Well, I mean, a lot of that goes to your childhood. I mean, if you were a boy that did not receive a lot of affection, I mean, like being a parenting coach and being in that position, like I've heard stories. I've had gentlemen in the class that I was in tell me that his father told him when he was a child, do not tell a man you love him. That's gay. What? Hold up. But that's your son, right? Like, if anybody can, like, you should be able to say that to your son and vice versa. But there are a lot of people that have been raised in generational curses that they don't know how to break.
Right.
So if you were a child that did not receive that affection from anybody except for mom, then that's really all you know.
Right.
And some women don't, because say you're a single mom, you might not know you don't necessarily know how to raise a man to be a man, right? So maybe you hold back some hugs and stuff because you don't want your son to be soft, but, and again, I'm not saying that there's a right or wrong answer. It's just, we see what's happening. We've got a generation of people that have that, toxic masculinity in them. It's like, I can't show emotions, and they have this perception of what women are and who they're supposed to be. And if I get somebody pregnant, she's got to stay home and take care of the kids, and she's just got to put her career on hold. Like, that's just it.
It's not the way it is anymore.
It's not the way it is anymore, but you still have a lot of people that have that mindset. So if you're pursuing. You went to, you know what I'm saying? You as a woman, you went to undergrad, you went to grad school, you did all this stuff, put all this work in on your career. We make a choice and get pregnant, and now I'm just looking at you like, you're going to quit, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you're going to just stop all that because you got to take care of the kid. I'll go out and I'll work. Now, mind you, what I'm doing for work isn't as successful as yours. I'm not bringing in as much money, but it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. I'm not staying at home. That's your job.
It's completely different. And, you know, there are some people that have, you know, if you're watching this podcast, it's probably because you are interested in changing the typical stereotype.
Yes, please.
But we see it all the time. I mean, you know, we have all different answers that come into your dad's class about how they handle their emotions. And a lot of it ends up being the basis of any relationship, which is communication and the way that you communicate. Communication is not always verbal. A lot of it comes through your facial expressions, your mannerisms. So talk to me about communication and how that can affect your relationship with your child.
Boom. All right, so communication is every old head, every older person is going to tell you that the key to a relationship is communication. Mm-hmm. And I believe that they are half right. Okay. Tell me more. You and I are sitting here talking. If we're in a relationship and I'm sitting here talking to you and you're just checked out, mm-hmm. you are thinking about everything else except for what I'm saying. But I am talking to you, and you can tell anybody, hey, we talk every day. But you're not listening to me. You're not taking it. So it's not just communication. It's communication and understanding. Right.
Okay.
Yeah, because
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Thank you. You're smelling what I'm stepping in there. So, so it's like, you know, I need to be able to, and this is huge, hopefully before you have children, that you have that relationship with your significant other to where I know when I'm in a situation of discomfort, I can talk to her and tell her. And me, I deal with mental health. So I have moments of anxiety where I will mm-hmm. be out in a crowded area and immediately my anxiety kicks in to the point to where I can't be there anymore, mm-hmm. right? I would need my significant other to understand, like, hey, if I give you the look, we got to get out of here. Mm-hmm. You know, and it's not me not trying to do things. It's just me being cognizant of my own limitations, right?
Right.
So when it comes to children and communication, it's like if I'm setting the example with my significant other and showing that we communicate about things whenever things are not just good stuff, mm-hmm. uncomfortable things as well, because again, I wasn't happy that she put that mayonnaise on my sandwich. I need her to know. You know, but if I'm able to communicate with her, then again, that lets the kids see, hey, you can talk about things that aren't comfortable. So Johnny, Jane at school, somebody said something to you that you don't understand. You don't keep that in because you're afraid of what your parents might say. Mom and dad are having comfortable, uncomfortable conversations. And I'm just saying mom and dad as an example, mom and mom, dad and dad, however you want to play it out. They can have uncomfortable conversations. So when little Johnny at school says something to me that's inappropriate, I don't have to hide it. Mm-hmm. I can go and talk to mom and dad about it and get some understanding. Because, I mean, we see, you talked about early teen pregnancy. Mm-hmm. Stuff like that happens, you know, because they're being introduced to stuff.
And having no outlet.
And having absolutely no mm-hmm. outlet. So what do you end up doing? You end up laying down with somebody before you're ready because you didn't have anyone that you can necessarily talk to. So it's showing that communication and then being the role model. Because
right.
The whole do as I say, not as I do, it's tired and it will not work. So if you want your children to be comfortable communicating with you, you need to set the example of what communication is and then also communicate with them. Be willing to have uncomfortable conversations with your child, not because they need it, mm-hmm. right? They're small people. They're growing up. I know you see them as a child. I know you see them as a child. I'm looking back at the camera. I know you see them as a child, right? They're your kid, but you have to understand. In no time, they're going to be an adult.
Earlier, you mentioned creative parenting, which I love that because that's today. That's 2024. It's not always a two-parent household.
Right.
Sometimes it's grandparents. And, you know, we're speaking to grandparents as well, any kind of caregiver. So what about communication whenever you don't have someone to create an example with? It's just it's a single-parent household. Maybe the other party isn't in the picture.
Well, but even though the other party, the dad or the mom, is not in the picture, you still have relationships.
Right.
You know, you have relationships outside of the home, and it is very important that a child gets to see how their parent interacts in the community. Mm-hmm. You know, what is your place in the community? Are you well received? Do people like you? Because now that child actually takes pride in how you are seen in the community. Oh, everybody likes my mom. Every time my mom goes out, everybody waves at her and she waves back, and my mom smiles and they smile back, and that's awesome. Everybody likes my mom, so I want everybody to like me too. I want to be just like my mom. These are the kind of things that children process.
They absorb so much more than we realize.
Big time facts. And they see a lot more than we give them credit for.
They do.
So that's what I'm saying. Being that role model, it's not just in the home. It is outside the home as well. Mm-hmm. But kids really do take pride in it. If you need an example, have your kid receive an award or something at school, and then you go and be there with them. And you see their face light up because you're their hero. Mm-hmm. You are their Marvel star with the cape on. You know, and so whenever you show up, it lightens their day because now they get to tell their friends, that's my mom.
Right.
You know? So yes, we set examples, positive or negative, we set examples. So even if you are a person who says, I am, and I said what I said, and you don't mind blowing up on somebody, or you don't mind being a little petty, that role model you're still setting an example. And a child can be proud of that.
That's true.
A child can be proud of that. If you are proud of less than desirable traits, that child will also put pride and stock in those less than desirable traits. So
proud of eating mayonnaise sandwiches.
If you are, listen, I'm back at the camera again. Get that mayonnaise away from me.
Is that written into the curriculum? Do not eat mayonnaise sandwiches in front of your children?
I'm going to be honest. We are now, this being our first run through in the class, we just did weeks 7 and 8
Great.
On this past Wednesday. I've only mentioned mayonnaise once.
I'm so proud of you because you've mentioned it probably 4 times during our podcast.
No,
today.
Listen, let me tell you something because I'm so serious about it. And you and our producer were so excited about mayonnaise. So I'm like, well, I'm one of one. I have to stand up on the my mayonnaise unit. Right. So,
but share your emotions compassionately.
Oh, compassion!
To be an example.
Oh my goodness! I'm going to show people exactly what it is. Listen, I'm the only person in here who doesn't eat mayonnaise. But I said it in a way that I feel comfortable, and everybody's okay.
That's right.
You don't feel like I suppressed your need to eat mayonnaise, right?
No, I don't. I'm a mayonnaise eater. I'm a Duke's girl.
See, there you go. You're a Duke's girl. I saw the Super Bowl. They had a commercial, like a whole campaign. Kate McKinnon is with the cat.
Yep.
And she's like spooning it.
Mm-hmm. I couldn't do that. Only on sandwiches and salads.
Never going to pass judgment on somebody for spooning mayonnaise, but I'm passing a little judgment.
Oh my goodness.
Just a little judgment.
Okay, so aside from mayonnaise, I feel like what I have gained from you today, the overarching theme, which has been the same theme, I feel like in all of our classes that we offer at Pharaohs, is consistency.
Oh, yeah.
Positive consistency with your children.
If it's like, you look at it like, you would yourself. If you're doing a diet, if you're trying to make some positive changes, if you aren't consistent with yourself, it's not going to work out. So if you're saying, hey, 2024, I'm going to lose 50 pounds. Sweet. That is an amazing, if it's healthy, go for it, right? But then you at the beginning, you only have 1 cheat day a week. By the end of January, it's 5 cheat days to 2 days on, and then come February, now you're just eating what you want again. That diet is out the door. It was for no point. So now if somebody says to you, hey, I got a diet that you should try, you're going to automatically just have this negative image in your head because you're like, diets don't work. What am I doing?
Right.
Okay. So if you try and introduce a parenting tip that we give you at home and you're not doing it consistently, you cannot expect your children to reap the benefits of it because, again, you haven't been consistent. So if you're going to do something, you have to understand you have to put the work in and you have to be consistent regardless of whether it's the most fun or not. I mean, it might be something that you're not necessarily happy with. Look, there are a lot of parents out there who don't know how to discipline their children.
Right.
You know, so, and I have tips for that. You know, we have tips.
Come see us.
But if you are a person who's had trouble disciplining your children and now you're trying to slowly but surely trying to bring the reins in, but you're not consistent with it, your child knows what they can and cannot get away with.
Right.
They're smarter than we give them credit for.
They absolutely are. I mean, I have a 3-year-old. And something
Cutest
really,
thing.
She's so cute. I'm not going to lie.
Thing.
But what's really funny is yesterday morning, I was having a really hard time getting out of bed, and she comes into my room. She says, "Mommy, it's time to get up." And I said, "No, just a little bit more time." She says, "Let me check." And she goes and looks through the blinds and says, "Yep, the sun's out. Time to get up." I'm like, "You are 3. Awesome. But it's funny because I don't ever remember her teaching her the sun's out, it's time to get up. It's just, I assume I've said that before, and she absorbed it. Kids are sponges. They watch everything that we do. Everything. And, you know, I'm going to use the cliche phrase, practice makes perfect. Yeah. And your kids aren't going to be perfect. You're never going to be a perfect parent. But practice is going to get you to the point where you have a stable, consistent relationship with your child. But you have to put in the work for it.
You want it to be almost like muscle memory. You know, yep. It's these things that we're planting now when they're 3, 5, 12. You plant these seeds now because one day they're going to be out of the house. We are raising our children to be prepared for life without us.
It's exactly what we said last episode is we are preparing our children for adulthood. The relationships that we're modeling with them now are how they're going to interact with their teammates, with their coworkers, with their... any relationship with their children when they eventually maybe have children.
And so it's vital that we do an amazing job. So, right. And if I say you're raising your child to be prepared for life without you, so if you were to ask yourself the question, parent, if I were not here today, would my child be successful?
Right.
And if in the way that you've raised them, if you feel that way, great. I mean, ultimately, that's the goal. But holding children accountable makes them adults that take accountability, right?
That's good.
You hold your children accountable for the things, the choices that they make when they're children, even if it's not popular. You're not their best friend. You're their parent.
Right.
So you hold them accountable as a child, so now they're an adult who takes accountability for their mistakes. They're not playing the victim and blaming everybody else for their choices. You know, they recognize that they make mistakes because we are human. We do make mistakes. I feel like you do better when you own it.
That's the truth.
That's just
and I think that leads to probably my last question for you. TJ, what does it take to be a man?
Whew. That is the $1 million question right there, right?
That's right. Do you think it's what people expect?
No, I don't think it's not what TV and movies have created us to believe.
Right.
I think that there is a sense of protector that goes to it because, you know, just standard. I'm not saying that there aren't exceptions where women are physically stronger, but just in standard, a man is usually going to be more physically strong than a female is. So, you know, there is a bit of protector there, but if you're getting I'm more or less saying what it's not than what it is, right. Because it's like, it's not holding your emotions in. It's right. It's not degrading women and feeling that you're superior to anybody. You know, if you're caught up in feeling like you have to do these things to be a man, then you're setting yourself up for failure and embarrassment. I
think a lot of it is being, and this is coming from a woman, so, but tell me if I'm right.
Yeah.
So being empathetic and vulnerable.
Yes.
But vulnerable in a way that is healthy.
And there is a healthy vulnerable. I mean, it's like, look, you don't want to be an open wound that just responds to everything. I mean, that's just not healthy for anybody, you know. But if you don't allow yourself to feel certain things, then you're going to blow up in the wrong way. And that's never what you want. You know, you never want to be at work and someone took the pen off your desk and now you're sitting there cursing everybody out, all because of an emotion that you had 2 weeks ago that you never processed.
Right.
Grieving is another one. It's like no one can tell you how to grieve. Everybody's going to grieve different. But if you don't have an outlet as a man and you're able to communicate how you're feeling about stuff, even something as simple as grieving the loss of a family member or friend can come out as a negative, aggressive
right.
action. And it doesn't have to be that way. A lot of stuff can be solved by just feeling safe and comfortable to communicate. And that safety, that's the thing. As a man, if you were raised in a household where the man was told, don't communicate, don't show those emotions, you really do have to step outside of your comfort zone to try and start doing those things to break those curses. But it's possible. You are not who you were yesterday.
Right.
So you set the tone. You are the narrator to your story. So if you want to be a more open person, do it. Period. I mean, it's like, I'm not holding you accountable for what you did last week or last year. So if you weren't communicating last year, but you're communicating today, sweet. Let's go with what's going on today.
It's all you.
It's all you. So if you tell me, man, I was raised to never communicate. My dad didn't tell me he loved me. So how am I going to do that today? If that's what you want to believe, you're 1,000% right. You are 1,000% right. You tell me you woke up on the wrong side of the bed, how am I going to tell you that you're wrong? But if that negative speak is true, then the other side can be true as well. So if you want to say, I am doing better, I am working on communication, I am working on sharing my emotions, then who am I to tell you that you're wrong?
That's so true. I hope that all the dads, grandparents, uncles, caregivers listening, anyone that has children or cares for children got something out of today, and I'm sure that they did because I did, and I'm not a dad. So thank you, TJ, so much.
Thank you.
You are full of wisdom.
I appreciate that.
And that's just a little taste of what you would get.
A scotch.
Yep, just a tiny little bit of what you would get in our dad's class. So building your parenting toolkit with the 24/7 dad curriculum. Check out our website for our next class dates for that. It's completely free to the public, and you'll get to spend 10 weeks with this lovely gentleman.
Why wouldn't you want to?
That's right. I mean, just listening to your voice is cool in itself.
I've heard that once or twice. I have heard that once or twice. It's the class really is. It's very much about self-awareness. You really need to find out where you are before we can go anywhere else.
Right.
And I go by the curriculum in the book, but I do bring in some of my own thoughts that I've learned and picked up over the time because, like I said, you know, this life, this journey, I am the star of my movie, but I get cameos in yours.
That's right.
So I'm going to take a little information from you. You tell me things, we share, we talk about life. So if you tell me something that I'm not necessarily incorporating into my own life, but I like it, I'm going to take a little bit of that. You know, there's nothing wrong with stealing positivity, you know, from your people that you care about. So if I can do that with people in my class, then I'm going to always do that. I want to have them think outside the box. And it really does. And one of the young gentlemen that I have in my class now, sometimes I say things, and it just seems like the most common sense stuff, but he'll take it and he'll be like, man, I never thought about it like that. And
because it was your interpretation and not his.
Right.
Yeah.
And so just getting that opportunity to bounce ideas off of other like-minded people, because we're all there for the purpose of becoming better fathers. So we all have different experiences. You have a different relationship with the color blue than I do. So let's talk about it, and then I can gain a little bit of perspective. So, yeah, that's what we're doing.
I love
Having
that.
a good time.
And we were so excited to have perspective from TJ because we are a group of ladies that work at Pharaoh's. So TJ brought some male energy, so we have someone that can actually relate to dads.
They're so awesome.
Yeah, we're all parents, but yeah, he is the only man in our office, but he does a great job. We really appreciate him.
I enjoy it.
Good. So thank you. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Parent Like a Pro. Remember, there is no playbook for parenting.
Pharaoh's Parenting's mission is to build positive parenting skills through targeted education, in-home coaching, and supportive intervention programs. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Pharaoh's Parenting or at our website, pharaohsparenting.org. Stay tuned for more episodes of Parent Like a Pro.